Welcome to another episode of the Protein Bros podcast. I am your host, Jeff Wasserman, and with me always is my co-host, Kyle Combs.
What's going on, guys?
And we have a very special guest today, Mr. Dylan Admire.
Thanks for
from
having me.
Iron Republic, but also many other businesses.
Current resident of Cancun, Mexico.
That is correct.
Super entrepreneur. We're going to talk about all the different businesses he's started and what he's doing right now. And he's sitting in front of me just balling out of control, head to toe, in designer gear right now. We haven't talked about it. I believe that is a GMT Master 2.
You would be correct.
I was about to say.
Is that a Pepsi or Coke?
No, it's the root beer one.
Is it brown? I didn't see the brown.
Yeah,
It looks like
brown
red.
and black.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I love it with the polished center links.
I like Rolexes quite a bit now. It's a bad addiction.
They're difficult to come by apparently these days.
They are. I got a good dude down in Boca Raton. So if you ever need any, he does like watch brokering.
Is he an
Don't
authorized
tell this
dealer?
to Jeff.
Yeah. Yes.
You're saying that he will sell these to you at retail prices?
He'll sell them below retail prices. So like, right now the whole thing is like if you go into a Rolex store, you can't get one.
Well, certainly not.
And unless you're an authorized dealer, you've bought $1 million plus from them, they're not selling one to you. Same thing with Audemars, Patek, all of those.
Sure.
So yeah, he can get new ones, used ones, full stickered ones. I just bought a full stickered Hulk recently for a pretty good deal because a lot of them are like good investment pieces right now.
Sure.
They just keep going up and up and up. I mean, some of those like steel Pepsis were $8,000-$9,000. Now they're selling for $20,000-$25,000.
Right, every time. Yeah, man. The Batgirl version, like a black and blue with the Jubilee bracelet.
Yeah, the Jubilee one.
Yeah, I got a decent deal on that one, but that one's like gone up 10 grand since I bought it, which is crazy.
Yeah, I bought this one. This one's almost doubled in the past like 9-10 months.
Yeah, man. Any of the fun like faces, you know what I mean? The with the dials being different colors, I feel like always do well. Did you see that new left-handed GMT that came out
the
with?
Sprite.
That's what they're calling it.
Yep.
I was gonna say I'm actually left-handed, and so I'm like I have to have that.
What's crazy is the MSRP
No
on
one's-
that was like 14 or 15, and they're selling for like 40 plus right now.
Yeah, man, collectors.
Jesus.
And you know the only difference is, Kyle, is that this little knob right here is on this side.
Yes.
Really?
That's
Very
it.
fancy.
Wow.
That's it.
Yeah.
Left-handed. Yeah.
Yes.
So you put it on your right hand.
Dude, I was looking at gosh.
So silly. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a buddy who he goes to my gym and he was telling me about watches. He's like, "No, man, I've made 20 grand on this watch." He's like, "This watch right here, I could sell for 20 grand." He had a Rolex on it as well, and I was like, "Holy crap,
Yeah, because,
dude! What is going on in the watch industry?"
You can wear them for 6-12 months. You get them polished. They look brand new because like they'll get some scuffs and scratches, but you take them to a jeweler, get it polished up, sell it, and go buy another one.
And make 10
wild.
grand.
Yeah.
That's wild. So let's talk about how we got to the point where you in your life you could afford something like that, dude.
Yeah.
So you're originally from Kansas City, or are you originally from Ohio?
From Kansas City. So my parents live in Batavia, Ohio now. Cincinnati, we were just there for the 4th of July seeing my sister and cousins and stuff like that. So good time. But yeah, so I grew up in Kansas City. Originally went to Blue Valley West, played sports there, football predominantly. After that, went to the University of Kansas and played football for 4 years. Ended up getting hurt, having some turmoil there, which we can get into later if we want to.
Sure.
After that, my degree was in sports management and exercise science. So I wanted to be a strength conditioning coach. So that's kind of how I got into working out. I played offensive line. So at the time I was a rather large human.
I was about to say, dude, well, you're already a large human as it is, but
I was like 300,
different
plus,
different
right?
type of large human.
300 pounds, 30% body fat. So slightly different than now.
Yeah.
But I loved working out. I kind of liked football. I really liked the working out aspect. So that's what kind of drove me to strength conditioning. Did that for about a year. The time requirements and the money you make is just not there. So ended up going to K-State, doing some nutrition research there. At the same time, was able to go to school and pursue MBA classes. So did that. Once I got done with that, I really had no idea what I wanted to do. So I applied to about 30 or 40 random jobs on Indeed, LinkedIn, all these different things from Las Vegas to here, police officer jobs, all sorts of stuff. Ended up working for Freight Quote and C.H. Robinson in town.
It's called what? I'm sorry.
Freight Quote and C.H. Robinson's over off 435.
Yeah, for sure.
So they're like one of the large Fortune 500 logistics companies in the world. Had no idea what I was doing. Went through the training program there. I was like, this is going to last 3 to 4 months. I'm going to have to go find another job. And, ended up loving logistics, learned the ropes pretty quick. It's sales, essentially. I'd never done sales before that. So just caught on quickly, was there for 3 years. Ended up departing with them in December of 2019, right before COVID. And then started my first logistics company a few months before COVID. So kind of the whole snapshot of Kansas City.
So tell me this, man. You... Like from that, basically breakdown of what, has happened in your life since high school to basically up until, now, or up until you started doing logistics. It seemed like along that whole way, you had a serious internal drive as far as to be successful. Where did that come from? Was that like from your parents, or was it something that, just where did it come from?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it was my upbringing. Playing sports was a huge thing. I mean, I think I contribute a lot of that to playing sports. I'm a very type A personality. So if I set a goal, I'm huge on goal setting. I know people who follow me on social media. I don't have the most massive social media following, but, I do like these funny videos in the morning and talk about motivation and stuff like that. And so, it's been kind of an internal drive. And, I had it playing sports, and then I kind of felt like I lost it for a little while. I was always very good at school and stuff like that. I had a 4.0 all through my undergrad and master's classes, but then once I got into my job at C.H. Robinson, it kind of re-triggered, and then honestly it kind of went down a little bit. I got a little complacent there, a little bored. It was more money than I'd ever made at the time. And then once I opened up my own business is when it was like full force. Natasha, who's she was actually the one who kind of drove me to open up my own business. I was not an entrepreneur by heart, let's say. So when I had left C.H. Robinson in December of 2019, I was honestly looking at maybe, going into another position in a similar type of company. She was like, hey, how about you give this a shot? So at the time, ended up doing that. I had, I've talked about this before, like $900 to my name. We ended up moving in together because I was so broke.
You're about to go into that negative net worth territory.
Just like we were talking about with Jeff, I was about to be negative net worth. But yeah, I actually worked at a nightclub in Westport doing security at night because that's how broke I was.
Yeah.
So, that way I could pay the bills and stuff like that. Started working like 80 to 100 hours a week with my logistics company at the time. And this was like 2 months before COVID. So it was good timing because I had some time to get the foundation set up before kind of the world decided to end.
Yeah.
Can I ask, with your logistics company, when you started it, what was the startup like, in the sense of, did you have any form of overhead to start with, in the sense of, like, did you have like an office, or did you work out of your house? Or
so luckily I was able to work out of my house. So with what I do, it's non-asset based. So we don't own any assets. We don't own trucks. It's all brokering. So luckily, a $500 laptop and a cell phone bill and Wi-Fi, and you're good to go.
Right.
So the overhead was very low, which makes you be able to be profitable very quickly. And at that point, it's just direct sales. So, making 80 to 100 calls a day, following up with emails, doing that 100 hours a week. And the first month doing that, I made more money in 1 month doing that than I ever made at my job previously. Probably what I made in 3-4 months, I made in 1 month.
Yeah.
Wow.
And after that, just started to catapult. And then COVID hit, which obviously for most people in the industry was very catastrophic. And so I kind of tried to niche myself in certain sectors. So hand sanitizers, gloves, masks, anything that people were needing, I started calling those companies, trying to do their shipping. So it's, LTL, full truckloads, all sorts of stuff that's on pallets. Until you've done it, you never even realize, like, for instance, in the supplement industry, everything that's in, your guys' stores was on a pallet at some point. It was probably on 4, 5, 6, 7 different trucks, from the raw goods over in China to getting over here to the manufacturer, to the supplement company, to you guys. So, that's all what we handle.
So for people who are listening, when you say you're a broker, so are you specifically, do you have guys or truckers that work underneath you, or are you basically just finding are you finding truckers that are looking for work, independent contractors, basically?
So exactly that. So we have our brokerage, we have our company, we have a few different LLCs with some different things that we do now. But you have your set of customers, so maybe you have 10 customers, 100 customers, whatever it is. They grant you the opportunities for loads based on you bidding on pricing. Some customers might bid you out every shipment. Some, it might just be predominantly with you. And then once you have that load in hand, then you go find a truck driver to take that. So it could be a partial truckload, it could be a full truckload. The LTLs, which you guys are probably familiar with the supplement shops, your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pallets, those are all pre-negotiated rates. So there's like 100 LTL carriers in the country, and all those are prefixed. So you put it into a system. And
what does LTL stand for our listeners?
Yeah, less than truckload. So like a full truckload would be 26 pallets, 26 to 30 pallets, up to 45,000 pounds. An LTL, so let's say 1 pallet of supplements might be 1,500 pounds. They can bring it to your shop. They can have a lift gate. They can bring it into the shop, so that could be your energy drinks, anything like that. For people who aren't even familiar with pallets, because when I got into it, I didn't know what a pallet was, to be honest. If you go to Costco or Sam's Club and you see the pallet racks with all the goods on them, those would be your pallets. So, any of those type of goods in there would be customers that a person could have in the logistics industry.
Sweet.
So,
Very cool, dude.
Dude, it's interesting as hell, because there's got to be a lot of, I'm sure, envious coworkers of yours that don't forget working alongside you there.
Yes.
In December of 2019.
100%. Even when I started at that job, I'd never done sales. I was in my early 20s. I came in, did very well. I like to talk, as most people, come to find out. And Tasha says I talk way too much, but it's a good skill I've developed. But yeah, there was people even at the time who were like bitter or jealous or envious, stuff like that. Also people who were very supportive, so it's not all bad. But yeah, after and to be honest, I'm not afraid to say at this point, I'm out of my 2 years with them. I believe I actually got fired from C.H. Robinson. I'm not someone who likes to work for other people, so I was very outspoken. They changed some commission plans at the time, and I was very outspoken about it, and actually ended up getting fired from them.
Yeah, I'm sure you were killing it, and they made your pay worse.
Yes, for most big companies, it's never for the benefit. So yeah, they were kind of decreasing commissions, and so at the time I decided to leave. A lot of people decided to stay there, and then honestly during COVID, a lot of people ended up getting laid off, as most companies did.
Sure.
But yeah, so
was there any non-compete or anything regarding that? But because they let you go, you were able to.
For 2 years, they have like a non-compete, non-solicit, like a lot of companies do. Non-competes, as it's been in the media recently, are not.
They're hard to hold up in court.
Yeah, they're hard to hold up in court. The non-solicits have a little bit more merit. So like when I left there, I pretty much just started over. The customers that I had there, I didn't take with me. So I started from fresh. Some companies have non-solicits, some don't. It just depends, who you work for.
And then when you say non-solicit for our listeners, again, that would be like you are not allowed to shoulder tap any of the customers you had at your previous job.
Yeah, correct. So if you had, customer X and they're doing X amount of revenue with you, I can't call them and be like, oh, hey, I'm working for another logistics company. I started my own logistics company. Come work with me. There's some gray areas in non-solicits. It depends how it's written. Maybe like if you and I have a friendship outside of that, we go to dinner, we play golf, we know each other's kids, etc. Then you might be able to work it. But yeah,
right.
It's a case-by-case situation.
I'm with you. Awfully gray area, it sounds like.
I like the gray area.
So when you started your own logistics company, obviously you said that you weren't a entrepreneur. You didn't think of yourself as an entrepreneur when you started it. I kind of came from the same mindset where I had to have my old boss tell me like, hey dude, you can own a business. Why can't you own a business?
Yep.
And I'd never thought about that because I had a limiting mindset for a long time.
Yes.
Was it her that completely opened up your mindset, or was it, what specifically was it? Was it going through being fired at that previous company where you're like, dude, fuck these people and fuck this industry. I can do this better than what is happening now. Like what made you lose that limiting belief?
Yeah. Some of it was the fact that, I, at the time, the money I was making, I thought was very hard to make. And I believe this is where a lot of people go wrong, whether it be with personal endeavors, business, opening up their own business, is let's say you're making 75K or 8K, whatever it is, and that's a lot of money to you. You've never made that amount before, so then you think, oh man, I'm never going to be able to make this again, or you're afraid. So that was my biggest thing. It was like, what am I going to do? How am I going to make X amount of money going out for my own?
Yeah.
And once I kind of got that out of my mind with the help of her, she had actually owned a hair salon in Kansas City, which when we ended up moving, she sold. But, so she kind of opened my mind to that. And, I had a little bit of a 401k reserve from my previous job. I went to the nightclub. So the bills were at least paid for. I didn't have a lot of overhead. So that gave me some confidence. And then really after that first 4 weeks where I had made more money than I'd ever made before, I was like addicted at that point. Because when you work for a big company, let's say you're making 10% commission, 20% commission, if you increase your book of business by X, you're not getting a ton back. So it's kind of hard. Like my old boss at the time, I still talk to him to this day. He's like, man, you could have done this at when you were working at that company. And yeah, I could have. Some of it maybe not, but you don't get as excited when you see $1,000 deposited versus what could be.
Right.
And so once I got that and, got addicted to that process, then it was just the floodgates were opened after that.
Absolutely, man. Do you have a ton of people that work underneath you now, or is it still a one-man show?
So we have two different logistics companies. One, Natasha and I, we have our own books of business still. So that's us. And then we have another logistics company that we have 20 employees currently. So it's all remote. We actually have a few employees all over the country. So that one has 20 employees, and then her and I are on a separate deal. Total we have like 22 people working for us.
What's the recruiting process like? How are you finding these people?
Yeah, so we use like Indeed, Paycor, LinkedIn, social media to do that. So we run various campaigns, and then we've gotten several thousand resumes.
I would say is like one in every 25 that are worth second interviews.
1 in every 100 maybe.
Yeah, man.
You know, it's just
sad,
like,
man.
you know, well, especially in this industry, you know, not to get too in depth, but you have like people who dispatch for truck drivers, you have drivers, and, you know, everybody wants to be in the position where they can make more money and not have to be on the road, etc. So you get a lot of applicants. But yeah, I mean, just like in sales, you know, I pitch to all of our people, you got to work off the 1%, which is really hard to like get people to understand that you're going to be told 99 times no. But if you can get told 1 time a day yes, and you do that every single day, you can be making 6 figures in a few months. And conveying that message to people is very, very hard. But same thing with recruiting employees. Recruiting employees is the same thing as sales. You know, if you can get 1 out of 100 good people who apply, and I can get 5, 6, 7 people a month, well, in a year from now, I'll have 100 employees. You know, so that's my biggest thing I try to preach is you're working on the 1%. But most people are not diligent enough, they're not persistent enough, you know, to be told 99 times no, and then that 1 time be told yes. But if you can do that, you can become very, very wealthy. It's just very hard for most people to like get that concept.
Yeah,
dude.
Obviously, the way that you create wealth is by using labor. Other people's labor is leverage, and
Yes.
you know but there is the trade-off of like the simple life that you guys probably had as far as being able to run your own logistics company, make your own time, make you not have to worry about hiring people, not have to worry about the recruiting. What has been the hardest part of basically having a staff like that, or having remote workers? Because, you know, for us, you know, if I have a problem with somebody, I can just drive over to the store and be like, "Hey, dude, what's going on?"
Yeah.
You can't exactly do that.
You also can't dodge your calls if you walk into the store.
No, exactly. You know, the remote atmosphere brings a huge, complex deal. You know, because my biggest thing is too, I didn't want to micromanage people because so many companies that you go work for, especially sales, they micromanage you. They track your phone calls. They can listen to all your phone calls. The manager might be staying behind you. He can tell you to put your cell phone down. So the biggest thing is trying to find people who you don't need to micromanage.
Yeah,
self-starters.
People who are self-starters, who are motivated by that 1%, who want to make money. Because our whole thing was the commission plan that we offer for our employees is very aggressive compared to most companies. So if someone wants to come in, they want to make good money, then that should be all they need. You shouldn't have to nudge them every day. So that's the biggest thing, is find those type of people. And then we have a few good people who manage our employees as well, both for the logistics company, and I know we haven't gotten to it, in the gym as well, because we travel so much. So our gym, you know, we have a great manager there who helps with that. But that's the biggest thing, is find, you know, obviously you have to have the vision, you have to have the drive and all of that, but then having someone who can help manage those people, so it's not solely on Natasha or I.
Yeah,
Let's transition to your guys' move to Miami.
Yeah.
Right? And from Miami to Mexico, this is all very quick.
Yes.
Right? Things have been happening
Bro,
fast.
like, why would you want to leave Kansas City for Miami? Have you?
Yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, so, you know, I had traveled a lot, like playing football, and with my family, I was lucky enough to travel. So while Natasha and I were dating, we'd gone to Miami like the spring before, had a blast, and then during COVID, everyone's kind of like cooped up here. Florida was completely wide open, so I think it was like October, we took another trip down there, and she was like, "Why don't we move here?"
Yeah, what are we doing? Yeah, let's go.
And at the time, like, I was like, oh, I don't know about this. Like, I was a very risk-adverse person before all this started happening. So I'm like, you know, we got a good house here. We got all these things. We have friends. Like, no, I'm okay. And so 2 weeks later, I'm online looking at condos in Miami, sight unseen. I get a condo, and like 2 weeks later, we load up a 26-foot U-Haul with 2 dogs. And
Was this in the middle of like January or February?
It was
that's
December.
I'm like, every
Perfect
time that
time.
time of year, I'm like, dude, I could live somewhere else.
Yeah, it was so cold, and like we're packing up the U-Haul. It's like freezing outside, and yeah, we drove 30 hours straight, and lo and behold, we ended up in Miami. So
Probably 80-degree weather.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Did you guys ever go down to Key West?
I've been to Key West before prior, but we had never gone. We haven't
Oh
gone down.
man,
since
I
then.
lived in Key West for a summer whenever I was getting ready to go to college. I
Okay.
graduated high school and then like lived down there, and like, you know, it was a classic, like, you know, worked all day every day, but when you're off work, you're like on vacation.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I was one of the young worker bees.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. And so I was always just thinking, man, I'd love to go back as an adult.
Yeah.
Never
Dude,
been.
this is kind of veering off of what we were going to talk about as far as like the gym and your move, but I think there's a common thing in your story about, you know, finding the right person for you in a relationship.
Yep.
And I see so many people just completely throw themselves into bad relationships that end up causing them to have issues at work, you know, want to quit their job or screw something up as far as where their life's going. You know, what what advice would you give to maybe a younger person about finding, a partner who's going to support you, obviously, the way you've been supported?
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing is, like, especially if you are someone to work a lot like myself and we have to travel, is you have to find someone who's supportive and also shares the same goal. Because if I want to work 100 hours a week, but she doesn't support that, which I've known guys that happen to them, then they end up divorced or it doesn't end up working out. And luckily, she had a good vision and, she was kind of able to push me in that direction. So having someone who's supportive, even, her and I work together, which at times is very challenging. At times we probably want to bite each other's head off, but at the same time, it makes it very convenient because when we travel, we're both doing the same thing. If we're busy during the day, then we can do that. When we have free time, we can go do that together. So, I mean, that's the hardest thing is finding someone who is supportive of that, whatever that is for you, whether it be working out, whether it be, your job, because I know that's a hard thing for a lot of people. And relationships is, for me previously, the working out is, before I got into business, that was like my whole life was, I want to bodybuild, I want to do all this stuff. And I still work out and I still, love health and fitness, but it's not my main priority anymore. But that was a huge issue for me before, was finding someone who was compatible with that. So, in my mind, I'm like, okay, do I need to find someone who competes? Do I need to find, am I going to be by myself? Like, because the gym is a huge issue for a lot of people. So same thing with business, because they're huge time sucks, is finding someone who's okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a big thing too is being able to paint the picture for your partner. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're casting a vision, a good vision, whether it's you or her casting the vision, it's like you have to have a story there, and you have to make it make sense to them as to why you're putting the time in. Like, hey, babe, I'm spending this time in the gym because this is my goals. I'm spending this much time, as far as work goes, because I'm trying to get to this point as far as financially, to where you don't have to work anymore, or whatever it is.
When being able to adapt because situations change, and I think you see that with a lot of people in relationships. I know some previous ones of mine. You start off here and then you end up over here where you're a completely different person. Right. So if you didn't communicate and you guys didn't change it together, then it's not going to work out. So I mean, that's the biggest thing.
Classic growing apart.
100%. Yeah.
Is open communication. So
like going to Miami, for example, on a whim.
Yes.
And then let's talk about the transition to Mexico to open a gym.
Yep.
So you're in a logistics company. You obviously have been a fan of training your whole life. Your whole adult life.
Do you speak Spanish, dude?
I speak maybe 50%. She speaks much better than me.
Yeah.
I can speak enough to get by.
That's a bold move, dude.
Yeah.
Well, I guess
he's in Cancun.
Cancun's probably a lot of English, right?
There was not as many people as I thought. Like if you're in the hotel zone, if you've ever been down to Cancun, so you fly into the airport, most people go to resorts in the hotel zone. There's like all your restaurants, the Rose Negra, Harry's, all of that. Everyone there speaks English, but once you get into the more downtown where the locals, there's not nearly as many English speaking people as I thought. So I know enough.
Is that what area you guys live?
So we live in an area called Puerto Cancun. So it's kind of in the hotel zone. Then there's a big mall right there, a marina, housing, condos. So we live in that kind of area. And then the gym is like right in downtown. So yeah, like you said, it's called Iron Republic. We opened in November. So kind of the long story or short story there is we were living in Miami. I had a buddy who was actually living down near Tulum with his wife and 2 kids, actually one of my former co-workers from C.H. Robinson. So he had opened up his own company at the time. He's living down there. They fly over to Miami to have dinner with us. He's telling me about, hey man, I love living in Mexico. And when I was in high school and college, I had been down there several times, and I always thought Mexico was fucking awesome.
Right.
And, cost of living's great, labor's cheap, food's great. So, when he kind of put this idea in my head, we started running with it. Similar situation as when we moved to Miami. We started looking at houses online. We actually selected a house sight unseen. This is a common theme. And so we flew down there in April, and like a year and a half ago, saw the house, ended up moving 2 weeks later. I think we moved with like 4 or 5 suitcases. She was pregnant at the time, so my family thought we were just like off the wall.
Yeah.
She's like 4 months pregnant. Neither one of us speak great Spanish. We're moving to a foreign country. We're going to have a baby in a foreign country. Like, people are like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
The part that's really...
You're like, dude, I'm taking action,
dude,
man.
the nerve-wracking part really is, because I just am so like, I have no knowledge, but I would just immediately like knee-jerk, like not trust a Mexican hospital over American hospital.
That was very interesting. So the healthcare system down there, you have public healthcare and then you have private healthcare. The public healthcare, I would not want my dog to go to. Right. The private healthcare is actually pretty phenomenal. To put it in perspective, like, you know, the whole pregnancy, the labor, all that type of stuff with no insurance was like a few $1,000s. If you went to a hospital here with no insurance, you'd spend 30, 50 grand minimum.
Dude, it's
Oh,
10 grand.
Kyle's 10 grand with insurance.
I'm 30 grand in on kids right now. I didn't even know that. And I have insurance.
You need to move to Mexico.
I need to go to Mexico, dude.
Yes. But so the gym came about, we moved down there. You know, in the Hispanic culture, they love working out. Even though, you know, not a ton of people in that area make tons of money, they all prioritize fitness. And so there was probably 30 or 40 gyms in Cancun. So we started going to different gyms, like, okay, where are we going to work out? I was actually getting ready to compete in a show at the time because it was right before we had Savannah, our daughter. I was like, fuck it, I'm going to do one more show. Ended up doing it in Florida. So we're trying to find all these different gyms. You know, one gym has okay equipment, one gym has no AC. Coming from the U.S., you wouldn't think of a gym not having AC. I mean, maybe like Metroflex Long Beach or, you know, some gyms like that.
Yeah.
But like no
Metroflex, Texas.
Yes.
They wanted
Where
Dallas.
Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah.
No AC, 110 out.
Yeah.
That's like every gym in Mexico. Besides a few, you'd have a few nicer gyms like in a mall or something like that, but they're not like super hardcore or anything like.
And they're certainly not like a monthly gym, right? They're for the tourists to go for a day.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So we tried out a few gyms. At that point, I was like, screw it, we got to open a gym. So we found a site. Everything I do is rather quick. So we found a site, we started doing it, and 2 months later we opened. Very interesting opening a business in a foreign country for the first time. When you can't speak the language very well, you don't know the regulations. So yeah, very interesting. Learned a lot of lessons.
Do you got to get a business license down there?
Things are very different down there.
Yeah.
You have to get those things, but
Did you have to pay somebody who has nothing to do with the government?
We get it.
yeah, money goes a long way in Mexico.
Okay.
But yeah,
Somebody just stops by the gym and they're like, "Hey, you
didn't pay your dues
You need
to-"
to. I think we call that racketeering here in
Yes,
America.
that's very correct. But yeah, so
Wow.
you know, very interesting experience. But yeah, so got all the equipment. We got some of it from Merida, which is about 3.5 hours north. So I actually got a bunch of Strive equipment, like a full set of Strive, a whole bunch of stuff up there. They refurbished it. We got some stuff out of Monterrey, which is kind of northern Mexico by the border.
Did you find some gyms that were closing, or what was the majority?
There was like equipment brokers.
Great.
And then one of my good friends, Steve Harvelius, over at Super Gym Fitness in Burlington, North Carolina. He's very popular on Instagram if you go to Super Gym Fitness. So he sells and buys equipment all over the country. So he does Arsenal, Prime. He does anything. He goes and buys out whole gyms. So he has new equipment, used equipment. So I've been friends with him for a while. So he got me like some Arsenal equipment and, you know, different types of pieces that, you know, I really wanted: belt squats, vertical leg presses, all that kind of stuff.
Awesome.
So got like a truckload from him. So total, I think we had 3 or 4 truckloads worth of stuff that we all got down into Mexico, which was another, you know, fun time, you know, dealing with customs and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so we got it all done, opened in November. So
How long was the build out? You said
2 months.
Have you seen his gym?
No.
It's badass looking.
Yeah.
It looks like a club, kind of like.
Yeah, so it's got like
When I saw it, and I was like, dude, anybody who's been to Mexico, you know that like you drive along the road and there's kind of like, especially different parts of Mexico, there'd be like a half-built house because people just kind of build it as they go.
Yeah.
Where did you find the people that were like, no, we'll do this quality work? Because it looks like great quality work that was done in the gym.
For the most part, a few things don't work properly, but those were some lessons well learned.
Are you telling me there wasn't an electrical contractor that walked through there and had to give you a license for everything?
Not quite. But no, I mean, in all reality, they did a great job. A guy named Iliberto, who I had met at one of the gyms I had joined temporarily, I had started talking to him. With my half broken English, Spanish, Spanglish, and his, you know, Spanglish, and we conversed. But he actually referred us to some people, and they did a pretty decent job given the timeline, given our knowledge. Contracts down there are very different, etc. So,
like a handshake deal.
Handshake, and you actually got to be very much more specific down there. Versus here, you know, if you hire a contractor, you can, you know, with the Better Business Bureau and all sorts of different things, you know kind of what you're getting.
Yeah.
Down there, you don't. So, like, you got to live and die by contracts, which we didn't know at the time. So, you know, hindsight 2020, but it all worked out. But yeah, I mean, you know, Natasha had a lot of the vision. I am not an artistic person at all, like zero, zilch. So she kind of had done mock-up drawings, and then we had kind of been searching on Instagram, online, Pinterest, etc., for some ideas. But we definitely wanted to do something like hip and cool. You know, my thought, City Athletic Club out in Las Vegas, which is a gym that's no longer open. You know, it kind of has that vibe a little bit.
Yeah.
Honestly, we would have preferred it to be a little bit more low lit than it is, but we actually want to do a second gym at some point. We haven't decided the exact timeline because this gym is great, but 300-400 members is about its max. The biggest challenge down there is like no one really puts their card on file. So at gyms here, you know, you do a 12-month membership, boom. So you might have 600-700 members, maybe 300 come consistently. Down there, if we have 350 members, 350 people are coming every single day, every single week.
That's a good thing, but it's a bad thing for business.
For business, it sucks.
It's great because you know people love the gym, they really enjoy it, and that's really the biggest thing that has been awesome is people are like so thankful. For the gym. I mean, we receive messages every week, every day, like, thank you so much for opening this place. You know, this is a place for us to train. We have several people who are IFBB pros, a few people who actually just turned pro in the Guadalajara show a few weeks ago, who train in our gym, a few other people who are pros, trainers that had, you know, ran through every gym in Cancun, and none of them were.
See some super fitness, you know, Instagram famous, you know, fitness celebrities working out there too.
Yeah. So, you know, it's been great. Yeah. And Mexico's become kind of a hot spot for people to move. Obviously during COVID, a lot of people had to pass through there because of the COVID restrictions in the U.S. So, you know, like people from Europe and England, Australia, they had to go there for 2 weeks to kind of sit before they come to the U.S. So it allowed a lot of people to come in. A lot of people are actually moving to Mexico because of the cost of living. You know, I mean, it's honestly a very
it's beautiful.
nice place to live.
Yeah.
Did you
all your Instagram gym videos are all captioned in Spanish too?
Yeah,
it's just crazy.
That would be thanks to yours truly, and the translating app.
Nicely done.
We've had a few funny stories with the translating app, you know, because like there's different dialects of Spanish.
Sure.
So we make an Instagram post and you put it in the translator, and we're like good to go, and then our manager from the gym, she's like, hey, did you mean to type that come to the gym and fuck your friend? And we're like, no, what the fuck are you talking about? She's like, that's what this translates to. We're like, oh, we're going to have you handle this now.
You're like, hey, you just got a promotion. You got a new job.
Yes. But yeah, so we've had a few funny stories with that. But yeah. Did you go, when you guys went down there, did you cash flow that gym or did you take out a loan? No. So down there getting loans is like a foreigner is very, very hard.
Yeah.
And I'm not the biggest fan of loans, to be honest. Luckily, kind of like we've been saying earlier with my logistics company, there was very little overhead to, you know, start, and, you know, how we finance things now is all, you know, through money I've made. Same thing with the gym. We paid for that out, you know, cash.
But what you can do that, and this is my question, if and this is like probably some deep business, but if I were to take the profit from, let's say, logistics company, and I invested into a different company, it's a different company. I can't call it a write-off anymore.
There's ways.
It's not growth, right?
There's ways behind the scenes that you can do it. So I actually have a whole tax team out of Arizona who helps me. So you can like loan companies money and stuff like that. So from like if you make a profit from one company, you can loan another company money behind the scenes, and you may or may not have to pay it back. There's all sorts of regulations. When you get into certain businesses, depending with the government, there's different things you can do like that. So yeah, there's ways to funnel money from one successful business to another to help open it. I mean, it's why you see a lot of people like the Elon Musk of the world. They have so many different businesses, and cash goes from one to the other, and it's why a lot of them pay very low taxes at the end of the day, because they're funneling money to different businesses of those behind the scenes.
What's the taxes like in Cancun?
So for like Mexican business, I believe it's a flat 30% tax, so it's a little bit different than the U.S. And like even if you don't turn profits, technically on the books, you still owe taxes. So it's very different from the United States.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang, you can't even write off anything. So if they're
You
like,
can write
your
stuff
business
off.
sucks, and I'm going to even charge you more.
Yeah, like in the U.S., obviously, like you can show a loss and like you don't owe any taxes. So even if you show a loss down there, you're still going to have to pay the government a certain percentage. And then like down there, the biggest thing that was different for us, we kind of got like screwed at the beginning, was it's called value added tax. It's like 17%. So in the U.S., when you go buy something at the store, it's $50 plus, you know, the 8 or 9% tax.
Sales tax.
Yeah, down there it has to be included in the price. So if your membership's $35 or 700 pesos, then it needs to include that value-added tax. So at the very beginning, we didn't know that. No one told us. So we're like, okay, 700 pesos plus the 17%.
Oh, so you had to come out of pocket with that.
Yeah, so we got hit on the wrist a little bit about that.
Damn.
Well, I was going to say, you for the amount of risks you guys were taking from just, you know, running from one thing to another. It sounds like, you know, by the grace of God, you know, knock on wood, everything's just worked out really great.
Yeah,
You know
a
what
few
I'm saying?
hiccups along the way, and
Yeah.
you know, when you make a mistake, luckily with myself or with her, you know, you make it once, you learn from it. Like I said, we want to open up a second gym, probably like 10 times the size. We've been kind of looking at some lots and stuff down there. It's probably 12 to 24 months out.
Staying close to Cancun.
Yeah, it'd be in Cancun still. Because the one we have now, like I said, we could maybe sustain up to 400 members because it's used very consistently. The next gym I want to do would be for like 1,000, 1,500 members. So there's a few gyms that we kind of like to model it after, like Christian Grusman's Alpha Land.
I was about to say your
Sugar.
gym kind of has that vibe to it already.
Yeah, so we want to do something of like that scale. I would like to be able to do like CrossFit in it, boxing with it, boxing, and like martial arts. Muay Thai is huge down in Mexico.
MMA.
Yeah, MMA, incorporating that, obviously a huge bodybuilding atmosphere down there. So it would be a much bigger gym and have an indoor because the weather is so nice. And, you know, it's about 85 all year long. So being able to do AstroTurf outside, kind of like a Gold's Gym Venice field, where you can have some of the equipment outside. So that's kind of our next gym that we want to do. You know, there's probably 250 pieces that I kind of want to go after, selective, from old Flex Fitness stuff, Prime stuff, Arsenal stuff.
Cool, man.
I love equipment.
Yeah.
Nerd out on it.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you have a 1,000, 1,500 member gym. You can collect some good stuff.
Yeah. So
some babies, you know what I mean? Some prized possessions.
Yeah. So we have a warehouse down in Cancun as well. So I'll start buying pieces over the next year or so and kind of get all the pieces set and then start going and building out the gym. And this time use proper contracts and proper contractors. The things that we screwed up the first time.
Man. All you're doing is learning. I love it.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Is your focus basically on the gyms now, and kind of the logistics company almost runs itself, or
Kind of
is the logistics still
opposite of that one?
Yeah.
So the gym we have now kind of runs itself. We have a girl named Angela who's actually from Colombia. She actually moved from Colombia to Cancun to work at our gym.
This is Columbia, the country, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Not Missouri,
Not
guys.
Missouri.
not Columbia, Missouri?
No, Colombia and South America. But she had actually moved to Cancun to work at our gym. Then we ended up promoting her to manager. So she does a great job. She kind of runs the gym when we're not there. And then we have 5 other employees. So we have front desk people because we also like make smoothies and all that kind of stuff. And then we have a person who cleans the gym constantly. That's like my biggest pet peeve with gyms. And now owning one, I've seen even more. You go into gyms, there's dust, dirt, the seats are ripped, like all sorts of stuff. So like if you come into our gym, it's very meticulously clean. Especially people would be surprised in Mexico, like you wouldn't think that. So yeah, that's we have about 6 people who work for the gym, so it kind of runs itself. We obviously still pay attention to it and do the books and all that kind of stuff. But the logistics company is where 95% of our focus is.
Nice.
I think
Jeff would be happy about your cleanliness of the gym.
I'm clearly sold. I'm sold on that. But I want to say for all of our members that are sold on wanting to go work out at Iron Republic, there's a lot of people that love to visit Cancun here.
Yes.
In Kansas City, we do
How
have.
far is it from?
We have direct flights to Cancun here
hotel
in Kansas City.
row?
Yes. Yeah, those direct flights from Kansas City. From the hotel zone, depending where you're at, 10 to 20 minutes.
Okay.
So like if you're in the deep middle of the hotel zone by like Isla Dora, it would probably take you at 20 minutes. But if you're kind of on the outskirts of the hotel zone, 10 minutes.
I was going to ask, what would it cost for any of our listeners to come do a day pass there?
So a day pass is $10. And then we also sell week passes and then month passes. So if you're going to come down for longer than that, a month membership down there is $35. So relatively inexpensive.
Yeah, no, you guys that's extremely fair.
Yeah,
that's awesome, dude. What's as far as logistics go? Is there growth that you have planned for that? You say you want to get to 100 employees?
Yeah. So our first goal is to get to 100 employees in that company. We have managers as well. They can oversee about 20 employees, probably at max. So that's kind of the goal for the next year and a half, is to continue to grow that. And obviously there's going to be the challenges, as in every business, kind of like we talked about before. Over the next 6 to 36 months, you're going to see, no one may be talking about it yet, but we're in a recession right now and it's going to get worse. But you just got to be more strategic. In any business, even during bad times, you can go find good times. And it just requires more effort, whereas maybe a sales rep had to make 50 calls to get X. Now they got to make 100 phone calls. So finding people who are motivated motivated. But at the same time, there's a lot of companies who aren't going to make it through that. Like we were talking about earlier, Patrick Bet David, who I love listening to his podcast. There's going to be a lot of companies that, quote unquote, end up in the graveyard. And so those companies are going to have good employees. So even during this time where it's going to be hard, being able to find quality employees that maybe were at a company that got shut down because they were cash flow tight, they were over leveraged, they were taking out loans to sustain their business. Those are now employees that we can go after. So even though business might be slightly harder, I think there's going to be more employees in the marketplace, and I think that'll be for any industry. There's going to be really good people who need jobs.
That's awesome to hear, and I'm thinking that I think that all sounds really accurate to me as far as how I think how this is going to shake out. But with the gas prices being so high, what I'd like to ask is if someone who's quoting people freight, does that leave more room for you, or does that leave less room for you?
So at least how I operate is I operate off percentages. So if the gas prices go up or down, it doesn't really change anything. From what the customer is seeing just nationwide with all trucking in general, prices have gone up because of the gas prices. I mean, not long ago it was $3 a gallon for diesel, and now in Beverly Hills it's $8 a gallon. So who knows how long that'll go on for, but it's definitely not helping the end user or the consumer. I mean, it's why, I was talking to my mom the other day about one of my nephews. He loves chocolate milk. Chocolate milk at Aldi's used to be $1. Now it's $3. So you're seeing it all across the board. Same thing with supplements, everything. I mean,
it's crazy.
You look at like creatine monohydrate.
Creatine's the absolute worst right now.
Yeah, I remember in high school you could get a big tub for $15. Now you go in and let's say Axe Sledge or whatever brand, a small 300-gram thing is $50.
Yeah.
So you're seeing it all across the board: supply and demand issues, the trucking costs, availability. It's affecting all fronts.
We had creatine 400 grams for $14.99 at the end of last year.
Yeah,
that same one's like $40 now.
Yeah,
hey,
most companies.
If you were doing $50 for 300 grams, just know you can go to S2.
Yes,
40 for 400
We
grams.
ship. My question for you in regards to logistics. So there's lots of talk. There's lots of talk of automation happening in the logistics industry, or maybe not in logistics, but in trucking in general.
Yeah, of course.
Is that something that you worry about, or is that something that would affect your business? Or is it one of those things where the logistics people are still going to have to be there? It's just the trucks are going to be automated.
Yeah,
possibly.
I think if we got to that point, who knows how long that is. I don't think it's going to be a quick thing. I mean, you look at automated cars or like Teslas and stuff like that. Obviously, there's a lot more of them out on the road, but it's not like every car you see is a Tesla.
For sure.
It's not like we're in the Jetsons universe yet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I think there will come a day where you're going to start seeing more of that. You're still going to need people to coordinate the pickups, the deliveries, issues. Even though they're electric or whatever the case may be, they're still going to break down. You still have to have a human element behind it.
For sure.
So the drivers could obviously be negatively affected by this, who are actually driving the trucks right now. But I'm sure there will be other things that open up. There's still going to be people who have to man certain things, load, unload. So it could affect the industry slightly for at least what I do in my sector of it. I don't think it would affect it a ton, because we would still have to coordinate everything.
And I think when there's changes in the industry, the people that are the most savvy in the industry typically are the ones that continue to come out ahead.
Yep.
Right.
That's kind of like
the new guy that gets rooted out real fast.
In our industry, we had people telling us, in 2010, like, dude, why you guys still have a retail store? Like, everything's going online. Retail will be dead by 2020. And it's like, we've only continued to grow because what you said, the human element, like most people want the human element, in business, especially a customer facing.
If money is being if money's involved, I want to trust whoever I'm giving it to.
Do you have, is most of your business coming from repeat, customers? Like, do you have,
Although sales calls, I would think the opposite.
Well, no, but like what I'm saying is once you've sold somebody, it's like,
Yeah, typically, I mean, in any industry, it's always cheaper to keep a customer than to go constantly have transactional business.
Yeah.
So, that's, the goal for myself or any of our sales reps is you get the business and then you sustain the business. So maybe at first you got the business purely off price, or maybe you got it purely off service because they were getting, terrible service from whatever company they were getting for. So that's the biggest thing that, I tell people, we try to train people, is figure out what the issue was.
Yeah.
Why do they not want to, because there's 10,000 1,000 people plus, probably 100,000 who do exactly what we do. So what are you doing to set yourself different? Are you available 24/7? If someone texts you or emails you, that they have a quote, you get back to it in a minute, because a lot of brokers take 4 hours, and so people solely lose stuff based off of that. So, just like in your guys' business, customer service is huge. And, kind of like to what you were saying, 2010, everyone's like, oh, retail stores are going to be dead, brick and mortar, which obviously many were. You look at the GNCs, the vitamin shops. I mean, GNC got hit the worst. They closed down tons of brick and mortar stores, but it was very transactional business. You went in, you bought a product, there was no education, there was no one to tell. The person working didn't even know the difference between the Ghost protein and the Redcon.
It's like protein. A glorified vending machine business.
Exactly. Yeah. So you have to evolve. Now people want education. And then that's what you guys have provided. Like when I lived in Kansas City, I shopped at S2. And so when you went in, it wasn't just a very transactional business, like you said, a glorified vending machine. And obviously, some people do want that. Those are the people who want to get on Amazon. They want X protein, and they don't want to hear anybody say anything about it. And that's that customer. But then you have a whole nother niche, a whole nother set of group of people who want that human element. They want that interaction. They have questions. So it's like that in any business.
Yeah.
Even in my business, for instance, like those, what's called carrier directs. So a customer could just go straight to the trucking company and get trucks. But some people don't like that. They don't have to pay the bills. They don't have to talk. They don't have to haggle. They don't have to check with all these things. So that's why they use us.
Yeah.
Because now, hey, I have this order, pick it up. I don't have to worry about it. So in any business, there's many different ways to skin a cat, per se.
Yeah. My only experience with freight brokers were I made the horrendous mistake of it'd be like the equivalent of someone signing up for one of those like timeshares, where they're like, you're like gonna get a free $100 gift card if you sit through like a timeshare sales pitch, and they just took your data, and for the next 10 years you're gonna get unsolicited calls from people. I put in like my number, like looking for a freight quote on getting a car delivered, right? I bought this classic Bronco from Denver and I had to get it delivered to Kansas City. And dude, my phone lit up. I just typed this in and immediately I got like 10
He's
calls.
like, I called you.
No, what was awesome, like to your point though, like I got a call within like 1 minute, I got like 7 calls. And I remember being like, man, I really don't know how to handle this. Like I'd already got somebody taking care of it. You know what I mean? And it was honestly like I paid a fair price and everything went exactly the way it was supposed to. And so it was all great.
Yeah, car moves are hard too. Like when we moved down to Florida, I had a Corvette that I moved down there, and like, people ask us all the time if we do car moves, and I don't do any of that. Like, because it's a whole different thing. You have car carriers and insurance liabilities, and open car carriers versus closed car carriers. Like,
very big difference.
It's its own field. Versus what we do is I deal with like pallets or machinery or that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So.
My question for you, man. To I guess to kind of wrap it up, we have a couple of questions we ask people at the end of podcasts, and the first thing I want to know from you, and we don't really typically ask this of guests, but I feel like this would be a good one for you, is you seem pretty well versed in business, and you've obviously had a lot of success. What book would you recommend to somebody as far as a book that if somebody's looking to find success in business or find motivation or something like that?
Just one that was impactful for you.
Yeah, impactful for you, man. What would it be?
I'm going to disappoint you here. I'm not like big on reading books. It's probably something I would like to get into.
Yeah.
I'm more big on like podcasts.
Sure. Okay.
So
podcasts. You like?
Yeah. So I like the interaction, being able to see people talk. Like I said, my favorite one's probably Patrick Bet-David stuff. And he has some like short ones, some other ones.
What's the name of his podcast for our listeners?
So the easiest way to find him would be Valuetainment.
You've definitely seen it. He's on Joe Rogan.
No, I meant like just for our listeners.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so like
search Valuetainment.
Yeah, search Valuetainment or Patrick, and then it's Bet-David. And so, he's so interesting to someone like myself because he was actually an immigrant in the United States and had nothing. And now he's worth 9 figures. So for me, like that's, those are some of my goals, to be worth like 9 figures at some point when, I have all these logistics companies and stuff like that. So, watching people who have already done that, like you look at an Elon Musk, obviously he's like echelons above most people, but took almost nothing and turned it into something big. Like most people don't even know he started PayPal.
Oh yeah,
and that's where he got the first chunk of his money. And
then he YOLO'd all his money into.
The amount of money he made, most people would be like so happy with.
They'd be done.
But then he risked it all to go do SpaceX and Tesla. And so I kind of try to look at people like that, and like some of the stuff that like Natasha and I do, like might seem radical or last minute, but we've talked like 100 hours behind the scene of, hey, let's do this. So yeah, maybe it happened in 2 weeks or maybe it happened in a month or a year, but there was so much planning behind the scenes. I think oftentimes that's what people don't see. even like you kind of talked about like, people I used to know when I worked at a previous company and now they see, where I'm at now or where we're at now 2 years later, and it's like, I've talked about a lot the must be nice crowd now.
Of course.
They didn't see the 100-hour work weeks. They didn't see having $900. They didn't see having to work at a nightclub and getting 2-3 hours of sleep. Hey, I loved working out. I sacrificed all of that for a time period. So, that's what people don't see. So long
people
answer.
always say things to pacify themselves and try and make themselves feel better.
100%, so.
But they know.
A long-winded answer to your book is, I don't have a good book for you. But,
well, the podcast.
Patrick Bet-David's great. Yeah, man.
So that's why I find inspirations on podcasts, and then I kind of like, I'll sit on the iPad for like hours. I'm like a huge night owl. I'll stay up like 3, 4, 5 in the morning. Luckily, I don't require a lot of sleep. And, I'll just start watching podcasts, then get into financial reports and, listen to things that like Warren Buffett has done, because all these people have been around forever, like especially kind of what we're going through now. Some of the people who predicted the 07, 08 financial crash are now talking about this one. So more than likely, like, these things happen like once every decade or two. So like listening to these people, what are their advices? What stocks do they think are going to be good to get into, are things I think can help everyone, no matter how much money you have to put into it right now, whether it's $100, $1,000. Patrick Bet-David kind of had something that stuck out to me was chasing your next zero. So if you're worth $10,000 right now, at the end of this, if you play your cards right and you're smart and you're diligent, you should be worth 100,000. If you're worth 1 million, you should be worth 10. So that's kind of his whole goal is chasing your next zero, and he did that from $0 now to be worth 100+ million. So I think that's kind of a good goal for people is chasing your next zero because it's attainable for anybody. If I tell you, oh, okay, go be worth 100 million, you're gonna look at me like, how the fuck am I gonna do that? It's such a huge goal, So I think when
if you're worth 10 and say, hey, try to be worth 100.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is setting micro goals. Because if I would have thought where we are now, 2.5 years ago, I probably would have laughed at you. But if you set little micro goals along the way, then you can get to that big goal, at the end of the day.
I think the big thing with you guys, man, is just action, dude.
Yep.
It's like not being afraid, or if you're afraid, taming that, and just doing it anyways, and figuring it out. Like the opening opening a gym in Mexico. The more that I think about it, knowing what we know about opening businesses, the more I'm like, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That is slightly ballsy.
Crazy in a good way.
Well, I think too, once you start making money and like you guys have been very successful, what you do, you realize even if you have a failure or if you have a small failure, at the end of the day, it's just money. Like once you know how to make money, you can make more money. Mm-hmm. So if I lose $100,000 doing X, Y, and Z, okay, well we can make that back.
Mm-hmm. You learned,
and kind of like what her and I have talked about, and there's been several people who have said this before. My biggest thing is when I'm 70 or 80 years old, I don't want to look back and have a bunch of regrets.
Yeah.
And I feel like the life I had lived up into 2.5 years ago, I would have looked back and been like, man, what if I would have done this or that?
I left a lot on the table.
Yeah, and so I'd rather lose money along the way and be able to say, okay, well, we tried this and fuck, that didn't work, or we tried this and we lost a little bit of money, we shifted, and then it led to success.
Yeah, man, you did it your way though.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's awesome, dude. This is bittersweet question since you guys don't live here full time anymore, but
no, they're gonna move back. It's way better.
yeah. I'd
Cancun,
Kansas
City.
So you're here, but how long are you here for?
Till Sunday night.
Beautiful. So this is an easy one. While you're here, give me two, because you're only here in town for like a week or so. So give me like two of like the most dope food spots that you have to hit in Kansas City while you're here. Because we're not on prep right now, right?
No.
We're eating what we want.
Man, we didn't even talk about bodybuilding really.
No.
It doesn't seem like it's as big of a part of your life as it once was.
No, not at all. I mean, like I still people know I still do cardio every day, and not even for like staying lean, just like the health benefits.
Yeah.
We could probably do a whole nother podcast about stuff that like, especially,
you got that kid, dude. You start thinking about your health, man.
Well, 100%. And you see so many people, kind of having niched myself in the supplement industry doing freight. I've been able to meet a lot of the bodybuilders, and unfortunately I met like a year ago, I got to work out with like Cedric McMillan,
that sucks.
You start to see all these guys dying and stuff. And it's just like, for us, our priorities have shifted, but like I said, doing cardio, I think it's the single most important thing anybody can do. And so many of these bodybuilders like don't do it. They think it's funny. Like, oh, I can stay lean without doing cardio. Well, yeah, because you're taking a bunch of GH or whatever else it is, so you can stay lean. But so that's still important to me. I still try to train 4 or 5 days a week, eat relatively healthy, but like, we have a lot of business dinners we have to go out to. We both enjoy eating out. So, if we want to go eat out, we go eat out. But to answer your question, last night we had Cheesecake Factory. We met with our family.
They have to have one of those in Cancun.
They don't.
They do not?
I had Cheesecake Factory for the first time like a month
Did you
ago.
get the brown bread?
Yes, the brown bread was calling my name.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we ate a few baskets of that, but no, I like Eddie V's quite a bit.
I do. I love Eddie V's.
You know, it's a national chain, but I always like Eddie V's. I know they opened an Ocean Prime here. You know, so I love like good seafood, good steaks. There's so many good restaurants though in Kansas City. Like, you know, that's probably my favorite.
What's your favorite barbecue? This is the real Kansas City question, dude.
You only get to eat one. What is it going to be?
I only get to eat one. Probably now it's considered like Kansas City Joe's, but like Oklahoma Joe's I liked. Room 39.
Q39.
Q39, I mean.
Yeah.
Gates. Yeah.
Those are your faves?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm on board with the first two. Gates, man, lets me down every time.
Gates,
even though
I can get down
you
on
get
their
yelled
sauce.
at when you go in there. What you want? And you're like, I don't know.
I'm pretty basic. I just like a sandwich.
Yeah.
Like nothing too crazy.
Well,
Dude,
Q39
Gates is open late though,
sandwich.
and living downtown, I can get Gates delivered at like 1 a.m. from like
Yes.
DoorDash or whatever. And I will tell you right now, always disappointing. Like you get so pumped, like,
you
dude,
always hate yourself afterwards. You're like, damn it.
Man, it was like half cold. The sides were like clearly made hours before.
One of my favorite
just
places.
a letdown.
One of my favorite places is Town Topic.
Oh hell yeah!
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's
You gotta
made
go
fresh to order.
Yeah.
During COVID, that was like that and McDonald's. Like there wasn't a lot open during COVID, and we were living over like near State Line. There was like on 101st and State Line. I was a large supporter of that McDonald's. During COVID. But yeah, that and Town Topic. So we'll definitely have to hit up Town Topic.
You'll have to get at least one of those burgers, one of
Yes.
those grease bombs before you guys call it.
Yes,
Have you ever had Tay's Burger Shack?
I have not.
That's
Yeah,
off
dude.
of
They
Armour
should pay
Boulevard.
us by this time. We talk
Yeah.
about it on
They
the
need to
podcast
sponsor
so much.
the podcast.
Yeah.
Tay's Burger Shack, dude.
Dude, I'm going after that. We don't have any sponsors. I'm going after Tay's Burger Shack. And next time I go through the drive-thru, I'm like, listen, I got a podcast and we got quite a few listeners.
They're literally have a help wanted sign at all times on their restaurants. They have 2, and they're literally like 16-year-olds in there.
No,
just
dude, they're
like,
14.
I don't
Like
feel
every
like-
time I drive
They're
in there,
like,
I'm
I don't
like, dude, what? How old are
They
you?
don't feel like working. No one feels like working in there. The service is never good. They try so hard. They're smiling, but it's just awful as far as how long you have to wait. But
It's
the burgers,
best fucking burger.
it's so good. The burger's so good.
Sounds like
man.
your next business venture right there. You need to buy Taste.
We go in and we like fix up their
Food's
customer service.
Food's
and-
my passion for
Yeah.
sure.
Yes.
Cool, man. Hey, we appreciate you taking the time to be on
Yeah,
the
dude.
podcast.
It's very good talking to you, man. Thank you for.
well. Thank you
I
for
feel
having
like
me.
it was a little bit different podcast because we were talking about business a lot, but I feel like the change was good, man. So I
Very
appreciate
much so.
you coming on.
I
We
appreciate having me.
we have, before we get off, we have a couple of quick announcements. Please, if you guys have not already, subscribe to the podcast. If you have not shared with a friend, please share with a friend. And lastly, if you have seen any of our Protein Bros Miami Vice t-shirts, those are available at our 7 Supplement Superstores locations. Make sure to go in, let them know that you are a subscriber of the Protein Bros podcast, and they will hook you up on the house.
Cool. Where can people find you, man?
People can find on Instagram. It's just Dylan Admire, Dylan Admire. So yeah.
Now.
Then our gym page, there's a link at the top of that for the gym page as well. It's Iron Republic _MX, I believe. And you can get on there and follow the gym page. And if you come down to Cancun, address is on there as well. Quick tip, if you're in Cancun, do not use Apple Maps. Does not work very well. Get on Google Maps, type in Iron Republic, get you there. So yeah.
Cool, man.
Gotcha, man.
Thank you
Follow.
so much, man, for coming on, dude.
Thanks for
Appreciate you
having me.
guys.
All right, guys. Bye.